Yo, what is good, everybody? I'm your boy Jadiro, and this is my leveling guide for Druid in Season 5 of Diablo 4. Let's get right into it. Now, this is my INFINI Wolf build. As you can see, I got some werewolves. This build is super cool. So let's talk about those aspects that make this possible. So the first aspect that we're going here is the aspect of the alpha, and this makes our wolf companions werewolves, and it also gives them the ability to spread rabies. Not to mention increases their passive damage by a whole lot. And we're putting this aspect on our necklace piece. Now, the next aspect that we're putting on our one-handed weapon here is the Moon Rage aspect. And the Moon Rage aspect will give us the chance to spawn additional wolf companions to a maximum of an additional 3. And it also gives us plus ranks, 3 plus ranks, to our wolves ability. And the last aspect to really make this build feel good, especially for the wave clear, we're going to have aspect of inevitable fate. What this will help us with is wave clear when we use Rabies. So basically when we use Rabies and the enemies below 35% of health, they'll explode with poison damage, which is pretty sweet. It definitely helps the wave clear and progressing to the game, especially if you're trying to speed level. Now, for some more spicy aspect, we have the Shepherd's aspect, of course, increasing our companion skills damage. And then we also have the Ring of the Stampede, which gives us an additional companion and also increases our companion skills damage. And you can also throw the aspect of the Wild Rage on our gloves here. So this will help our companions benefit from our Bestial Rampage key passive. As for the defensive aspects, the first aspect I want to talk about is the Spirit Bond aspect. So this will help redirect our damage that we take to our companions, and our companions are pretty much immortal. And you can put this on your helmet. Now, as for the pants piece here, we have the reduced cooldown on Rabies. It's called the Virulent aspect. And this basically helps our Rabies be off a cooldown a lot quicker. And seeing as we have no unstoppable procs, I put the aspect of Metamorphosis on our boots here. This basically makes our evade an unstoppable proc. Now, as for the chest piece here, you could throw on whatever aspect that you like. What I suggest you can get, if you can get, is the Mad Wolf's Glee. This takes this build, especially being a leveling build, from 0 to 100 real quick. All right, so that does it for the aspects. I want to go over the skill tree next. Right before we start the skill tree here, guys, I want to let you know I have the whole build over at Mobalytics. It's called the Season 5 INFINI Wolf Level 1 to 70 build. And just so you know, I have the whole skill tree over here for you. You can also toggle on the leveling path, and you can see the individual skills I took and the order I took them in. So what I'll do for you guys is I'll include a link in the description and in the comments for you. So if you just want to go over there, take the shortcut, and look at the whole build for yourself, it'll be right there for you. So now moving on to the skill tree, as you can see, we're taking Maul. Now this is simply just to give us some fortify, and it also helps proc our Bestial Rampage key passive. Now moving down to our core abilities, you can see I don't have any core abilities, but worry not. You get to level 10 pretty quickly, and around level 10 you can get Wolves as your main ability. As for the secondary skills, we're putting a full 3 into Predatory Instinct for increased critical strike chance to close enemies. Then we're putting a full 3 into Digigate. This is so when we're in werewolf form, it increases our movement speed. And I'll talk more on how we get those ranks up later. Then we're going to put a full 3 into Iron Fist so that when we're in Werebear form, we get damage reduction. Now moving down to our defensive skills, we're going Blood Howl, and we're going the version of Blood Howl that increases our attack speed. And then as for our secondary skills here, we're putting a full 3 into Ancestral Fortitude for some increased resistance. And then we're putting a full 3 into Vigilance to give us some more damage reduction whenever we use a defensive skill. And that defensive skill is Blood Howl. Now moving down to where this build really comes together is the companion skills. So we're going Wolves, and we're going the version of Wolves that increases their attack speed whenever we critically strike. Then we're putting 1 into Poison Creeper. Simply having more companions is better, especially with the aspects that we're taking. And then we're going Ravens, and we're going the version of Ravens that gives us 2 additional Ravens. Then we're going to put a full 3 into Call of the Wild to increase the damage of our companion skills. And then we're going to put a full 3 into Clarity so that every time that we use a companion, one of our core or Wrath skills will have increased critical strike chance. And the Wrath skill that we're talking about here is Rabies. Now, you can either go the Savage Rabies version or the Natural Rabies. I simply like Natural Rabies. I was trying out Savage Rabies, but I like the idea of it spreading further and wider, especially when you're doing wave clear and trying to level up real quick. And then we're dropping 1 into Neurotoxin, but what we really want here is Envenom so that us and our companions get increased critical strike damage to poison enemies. And we're going to poison our enemies either with Rabies or Poison Creeper. Now moving down to our ultimate skills, we're taking nothing here, but for our secondary skills, we're going Quick Shift, and we're getting this to increase the damage we deal when shapeshifting into Werebear or Werewolf form. Then we're putting a full 3 into Natural Fortitude, so shapeshifting fortifies us, which is awesome. It gives us damage reduction. And then we're putting a full 3 into Heightened Senses, so they get increased damage reduction, increased move speed, and this doubles when both are active. Now moving down to our key passives here, we're going Bestial Rampage. Now when shapeshifting between Werebear and Werewolf form, it will increase our attack speed and our damage. Now again, you guys can go hit up Mobalytics if you want to see the exact path I took for every individual skill point. And seeing as we're on this page, let's go over to the Paragon board next. So for the Paragon board, our first glyph that we're going to carve our way to is Fang and Claw, and this increases the damage we deal while in Werewolf or Werebear form. And you can easily invest into the willpower nodes to get the additional bonus from Fang and Claw. Now moving up to our first board here, we went the Heightened Malice board so that we deal increased damage when there's 3 or more poison enemies around us. And again, we're poisoning a lot of enemies with Poison Creeper and Rabies. Now the glyph for this board that made the most sense was Exploit. And that's simply because we were able, without having to level it to level 15, we were able to get the additional bonus. And the Exploit glyph, of course, increases the damage we deal to vulnerable enemies, and it also gives us the ability to apply vulnerable to enemies. Now, as for the third board here, it's incomplete because, again, it was only up to level 70. I stopped it at, just for you guys, but it's the Thunderstruck board. I really only wanted the rare nodes on this page. We get the critical strike damage and the vulnerable damage, and then we get increased maximum life. That's really what I wanted this node for, and the 20% lightning resistance is also good. Now, the Thunderstruck node, we might be able to work in and use eventually. I'm simply going it because I might want to rework this build near the end of it. Like, I might want to drop Rabies at some point and put Shred into the build. And I know you can make Shred a Storm ability, or you can make Werewolf abilities, Storm abilities. So I think there's some cool synergies going on here that I might want to implement later. But that's enough of the Paragon board. Let's move on to the Spirit Boons next. All right, so as for the Spirit Boons, guys, now this is a leveling guide again. As soon as you hit level 16, make sure you go do this quest. A lot of people would disagree with me and say, don't do this quest first, wait till you're more higher level to do it. But it's one of the most boring quests you could possibly do, and that's just what it is. So I suggest you get it done first. And of course, we're going Weariness to reduce the damage we take from elites, simple mass. Then we're going Scythe Talons to increase our critical strike chance. And then we're going Avian Wrath to increase our critical strike damage. Next, down to Wolfie here, we're going Pack Leader. This gives us the ability when we critically strike to reset our companion skills. Pretty sweet. And then finally for Snaky down here, we're going Masochistic, and this will help us get life back when we're using Maul or Rabies. Now, guys, I just want to mention the gems right quick here. Don't waste your scattered prisms yet. Don't do anything until you start getting 925 items. But as for gems, if you do happen to have socketed items, just simply put rubies in your armor, put crit strike damage into your weapons, and then as for your jewelry, just put whatever resistance you need help with the most in terms of gem color. All right, that's everything for the build. Let's go over some quick leveling tips next. So here we are for some quick leveling tips, and the first thing I want to talk about is the seasonal theme. Now, the seasonal theme is there's a seasonal quest, and you unlock the Infernal Hordes. Now, you also get this reputation grind, and you get these reputation rewards. And what these caches give you are your aspects and your items that help you level up quicker and gear up quicker. And in some cases, they also drop you the Infernal Compass, which is new to Season 5. I'll talk more about that later. And what's cool about it is this time to get reputation, you can simply do anything in the game, from Nightmare Dungeons to the Helltide to the Infernal Hordes. Anything you do gives you reputation. And you should be blazing through these rewards with no problem. And what's also good about that is you can potentially get those uniques that you need to make these builds really pop off. Now, the next tip here is always don't forget to pop your elixirs before you go out there and start questing. You get a crazy good buff and you get an experience gain, which is huge. Now, you can also craft incense that stack on top of your elixirs, but I don't recommend doing this as it uses vital materials that you need for later in the game. But if you're a Giga Chat and you're just speed farming through this thing, go for it. Now, in every season 2, there's also a seasonal grind. You get these things called seasonal blessings. And what they drop is something called smoldering ashes. And the first one that I suggest you invest into is the Urn of Aggression. This will simply just increase your experience gain by 20%. Now let's talk about the leveling path here, guys. From levels 1 to 25, I suggest you do the Helltide. Now let's talk about the leveling experience from level 1 to 25. I'm going to give you a little bit of gameplay just to kind of stray from all the talking I've been doing. But what you simply want to do from level 1 to 25 is go to the Helltide and just start clapping monsters. Now, the best thing about the Helltide too is we have something called the Blood Maiden, and 9 times out of 10, there's some people here, you know, trying to summon the Blood Maiden, and she drops crazy items and gives you crazy experience. So as you can see, the Blood Maiden has popped. We got the whole group here trying to take her down. And basically what happens is once you murk the Blood Maiden, she gives you something called Grim Favor. And I believe it's 5 to be exact. There you go. Boom, Grim Favor. Now, additionally, on top of the 5 Grim Favor that you can acquire from the Blood Maiden, you can also acquire more Grim Favor from the other objectives. And then once you're full on Grim Favors, you can go over the Tree of Whispers and simply hand in the Grim Favors for experience and loot. And believe me, you're going to absolutely blast to level 25 in minutes. Now, once you've hit level 30 or level 25, whatever you feel comfortable with, you can be able to go over to QUCIK here, and you'll be able to do the first capstone dungeon. And I can guarantee that you'll be able to absolutely murk the capstone dungeon one shot. Now, from level 30 to 50, it's more of the same. Just simply grind the Helltide, get that Grim Favor, go to the Tree of Whispers, rinse, repeat. Now, additionally, from levels 30 to 50, you'll start doing the seasonal quest, and you'll unlock a dude called Lochran. And once you start doing his quest line, you'll unlock the Infernal Compasses. Now, I want to mention to you guys, the Infernal Compasses are probably the best way to get experience in the game. Now, from level 50 to 70, I would do a mix of everything. Do Helltides, do Nightmare Dungeons, and Infernal Compasses. And once you get to level 70, I suggest you focus more on the Nightmare Dungeons and the Infernal Compasses. Simply because the only way you're going to get Glyph XP that makes your build absolutely insane is from the Nightmare Dungeons. Now, the last thing I want to mention here for the leveling tips, guys, if you absolutely just want to blast through the world tiers and blast through the game and level up as quick as possible, don't forget to temper your items. And what I recommend you do, especially on your weapons and your gems and your necklace, is go to your offensive tab and go to Worldly Finesse or Natural Finesse. Leveling up and going through the game, especially in the Helltides, you should come across these manuals. Now, damage is great, damage to close is great, and damage to distant enemies is great if you're using a ranged build. But this is not a ranged build, so get damage or damage to close. Now, as for Worldly Finesse, just simply go Critical Strike or Vulnerable Damage. And if you're feeling lucky, you can go Companion Finesse and mix up the damage buckets and go Companion Damage or Wolf's Damage. And once you start putting these onto your weapons and your necklace piece and your rings, as you can see here, I have damage to close, then I have vulnerable damage, then I got companion damage, I got crit strike damage. Now this one I didn't put damage on. I actually just like the move speed with Mad Wolf's Glee. So I put Digigate on this one to give us those increased ranks to Digigate. So with Mad Wolf's Glee on, we're like super zippy and it's super fast. Now as for your armor, just simply go max life if you can or total armor. Now I'm just kind of more OCD about having my armor capped, but I would suggest just going maximum life if you can. And as you can see, it's in defensive and it's in worldly endurance, maximum life. All right, so that does for all the leveling tips. I thought I'd end off the video with some Infernal Horde gameplay, and I could talk about the rotation and what's going on with the build while playing the game. All right, here we go, guys. Don't forget to pop your potion. I'm gonna go for crit strike and crit strike damage, just to give us a little bit more leverage here. Boom. You got some time before it actually starts, and then once it commences, you just have to fight off the waves. And as you can see, these enemies are level 100, so you know you're still pushing. You know, and once you get to level 100, you'll be able to start doing. You can start target farming the tormented bosses, and you can start getting your hands on some uniques and potentially uber uniques too. Now let's see if I can get a nuke here for my wolves. Boom! See, just hitting wolves there, it just nukes enemies, and I'll show you guys more on that once we get to the last room. Alright, so I thought I'd talk about the rotation here. So all I really do is I pop like Poison Creeper. I'm always keeping my Blood Howl up because it also heals us. And then what I do is for the single target damage, I kind of just save my wolves. Because if it's a big damage or like, you know, they have boss-like health, I just try to save my wolves to nuke that target, essentially. And then I'm casually just dropping my Rabies, and sometimes I stop attacking just to stay in my werewolf form to proc our Bestial Rage key passive there. But here you go, just dropping our Howl, doing our Maul. Then I'm dropping Rabies here. You can see the damage is spreading. You can also hear those pops going off, and that's from the inevitable fate aspect that we have on our totem there. Let's nuke them. Oh, it didn't hit them. See, sometimes they get blocked, but that's okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this video down. I'm sure you don't want to watch the full 6 minutes of me doing this, so I will oblige. All right, this might be a good example of how much damage the wolf nuke could actually do. It's gotta get, oh, never mind. Didn't even need it. Oh, here we go. This is a pretty big boss here. Boom. Just one shot. Boom. Alright guys, we're almost at the end of the 6th wave, and we can go fight those bosses in the next room. Okay, here we are in the boss room. Let's try and get those wolves spawned first. Get a Blood Howl up, get our ravens down. Get our rabies going and see how much wolf damage we do. Boom, there you go. See those big chunks of damage just kind of come off the enemy there? Pretty sweet. And it wasn't even all the wolves. The other wolves over there. Just arbitrarily attacking the other guy, but that's cool. Keep going here, drop ravens. Then we drop our wolves. Boom, nice chunk damage there. And one more. Come on. Yeah, we half-healthed them on that one. Yeah, pretty simple. Easy peasy. Oh, never mind. I got a head fake there. I thought I got him, but I didn't. Boom. Done. Now, as you can see, we got a ton of experience there. We got a ton of Aether, and then we get some great loot too. All right, guys, that was the Infernal Compass. I just want to show you some gameplay of the build. Now, you can only imagine going from level 1 to 70, how easy that's going to be, and you're just going to absolutely murk those capstone dungeons and all the content up to this point. Now, I plan on making an end game version of this build, but until then, let's go over the build summary next. All right, here we go. We got Maul as our basic ability. We got Blood Howl. Then we take all our companion skills, and of course, we take Rabies. As for the aspects, guys, I'll chapter that for you in this video. You can go back and watch it there. As for the spirit boons, of course, we're going Wariness, then we're going Sight Talents, then we're going Avian Wrath, Pack Leader, and Masochistic. Now, as for the skill tree and the Paragon board, I'll also have that over on the Mobalytics link for you guys to go check out there. Well, that does it for this leveling guide for Druid, man. Druid lives. All my Copium Druids stand united. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm your boy Jadiro. Sign out for now. Peace.